action. I can't get no call to action, but I try, and I try, and I try.
Hello and welcome to Call to Action, the go-to podcast for anyone trying to make sense of the world of marketing, advertising and beyond. In an industry that is a minefield of utter bollocks, we aim to capture our heroes and allies from the front line to have a chin-wag with. It's like Pokemon Go, with the single but vital exception that it's not a short-term bandwagon of shite. It's brought to you by Gasp and I'm Giles Edwards. Today I've caught Rob Mayhew. A stand-up comedian and TikTok star, Rob sends Jennies, Gavins and Taras across agency land into hysterics with his painfully accurate portrayals of our decidedly dumb behaviours. Currently head of influence at Fleishman Hillard, Rob has over 20 years' experience working at some of London's top agencies with big brands like McVities, Krispy Kreme and Lacoste. Salad cream lover, sexy jumper wearer, and a man who can make IT taking remote control of your desktop hilarious. We're delighted to have him on the show. Rob says, "My sketches are a love letter to the industry. We've got so used to certain ways of doing things that must just seem weird to anyone outside of the industry. The way we name our meeting rooms, the bobbing your head as you play a mood film in a pitch, it's funny because it's true." Welcome to the show, Rob.
Giles, thank you very much. Lovely to join Call to Action. And also, just Pokemon Go is still going and it is still doing well. My brother-in-law plays it still.
I had to clarify this before. I actually have no issues with Pokemon Go. I have issues with people thinking, in agency land especially, that Pokemon Go is, the answer to every question. And
still the hot thing. Yeah, you're right. It was such a hot thing, wasn't it, many years ago? Probably about 7 years ago now. And I was surprised to know it was still going, which is the only reason I mention it, because I was surprised. But it's still there. You can still go out and collect virtual animals, which is still thrilling to me.
And we all should.
Yeah, we all should. We all need to get out, don't we? So it's I'm sure it helps people get out and about. So nice to meet you, though. Nice to chat with you, and thank you for having me on.
Oh, no problem. Right, we've got our 7 quickfire questions, Rob.
Come on then,
I'll
hit
start
me.
with some easy ones. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
London or New York?
Stop it. New York.
Ketchup or salad cream?
Salad cream.
LinkedIn or TikTok?
TikTok. It's a tough one, but TikTok.
All right. Jenny or Gavin?
Jenny.
Okay, 2 more. Bill Burr or Jessica Curson?
Jessica Curson.
Last one. Being honest in your weekly stand-up or lying about booking a meeting room?
Being honest in your weekly stand-up. More fun to write that one. If people don't know, they're very niche questions for me. So well done with your research there, because that's very much you think you've just pretty much, that would be my CV, I think. Those type of questions. I really want to work with salad cream, and I keep putting them in all my sketches because I'm literally obsessed. I have it with every meal. I've got an immature palate. I should know better. Immature palate, and my poor wife. When we were first dating, I'd send her pictures of my food, and she thought my food was so horrific that I'd send her pictures of it, and she created this called Oh My Beige on Instagram, which is like a collection of my meals with my permission, and it would always feature salad cream. Now, so my obsession with salad cream, it was on my wedding invite. It was on. My wife made me a tray for my 42nd birthday that had salad cream on it, and I still don't know why salad cream haven't reached out to me, because I'm a true fan, Giles, and that's what all brands want, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't doubt you're a true fan. Was salad cream available at your wedding?
It wasn't. I think I may have been like a joke salad cream on my table, but no, it would have been. It's quite expensive in New York to get salad cream. Just so you know.
Well, without meaning to sound like I'm trying to make salad cream chat a bit more highbrow.
Thanks, everyone.
What pairs well with salad cream? Crisps in a sandwich?
No. We're talking curries, spaghetti bolognese, every meal. It's a problem. Don't try and say we'll just have mayonnaise. It's not. It's the vinegar I love. It's the sweet vinegar, and just people. it's quite classist. People think salad cream is very working class, and you can really, by people's reaction to me having salad cream, really brings out their nasty side. So just remember that if anyone attacks me for salad cream, but I'll have it at work. I'll have it at work. Have at least 2 or 3 bottles at home. Before I got married and moved in with my wife, not in that order. Before I moved in with my wife and got married, would have like salad creams. I'd finish one and leave it in the cupboard. I'd have like 10, maybe 10 used salad creams. Anyway, that's I could talk all day about salad cream.
Oh, so mate, is Oh My Beige still available? Is that still live?
It is still there because I think I've lost the password. My wife handed over the login and then I've lost it, but it's still there. Maybe we can find a way to post it in the, I don't know, some chat or something. There's not really that chat, is it? And then last thing, Jessica Kirson or Bill Burr was the comedians. Jessica Kirson is a New York comic who is just one of my favorite comedians I've ever seen live. Just wonderful comedian, and she's brilliant. And she's got a special out. I think you can hear her on Spotify. I mean, Bill Burr's obviously incredible, but I just love Jessica Kirshner live. That she's got an energy that is just insane. So big shout out to Jessica Kirshner, the comedian who I don't know, but I love to bits. She's just brilliant, hilarious.
You've managed to get 2 more Jessica Kirson fans in the process of us researching this, because I must be honest, Soph and I, my wife, are massively into stand-up, and pre-pandemic we used to go, well, certainly pre-kids as well, we used to go kind of at least once a month to see a stand-up comic. And we've seen I adore Bill Burr, and I saw Bill Burr at Royal Albert Hall however many years ago that was.
I did as well, yeah, doing his Paper Tigers. Yeah, that was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it, yeah. But I didn't know Jessica.
Oh yeah, I watched that again the other night, Paper Tigers. I really, it's just, I mean, I've seen Bill Burr live a few times, and I think the first time I saw him live was about sort of maybe 10, maybe 8 years ago or something. And when you see someone like that at the height of their career, it's just an incredible experience, isn't it? And him at the Royal Albert Hall again was incredible. But Jessica Kirsten, yeah, she just hasn't hit the mainstream, but Bill Burr produced her special that was on Comedy Central, not really available. But she's doing a new one. But you can see her on YouTube. She speaks really quickly, and she's just so funny. Anyone that says women comedian aren't funny, which I don't hear a lot of that anymore. But I send them to Jessica Kirsten because she's one of the best, one of the greats.
She is, and I was surprised actually. It's why we put Bill Burr in there. I was surprised he was involved in her special, which I think is available on Amazon Prime, by the way, but I'm not sure. I think you have to pay for it.
Oh, okay. There you go.
And the last quickfire, lying about booking a meeting room, just because I want to get her in trouble. I have a good friend who, by process of elimination, people who know me can work out who it is, but she used to work at Microsoft, and she genuinely used to book meeting rooms to have a nap.
Brilliant. But that's what it's for. I've done one about what meeting rooms are really used for. And I came to booking holidays, talking to your partner about what you can have for dinner, gossiping, maybe going in there to watch Limmy on Twitch at 9 o'clock in the morning, 9:30. Just you don't, there's a lot of reasons for using meeting rooms, isn't it? And one of them is having a nap. When you're hungover, oh God, please stop it. It's take a Coca-Cola into a meeting room. That's what you need, isn't it? A bacon sandwich and just a bit of quiet time.
So, Rob, to start the show, what we like to do is celebrate weird and wonderful ways that guests get to where they are in their career. So you're currently head of influence at PR agency Fleishman Hillard, and by day and by night a stand-up comedian. But what was your first ever job? And then what was your first proper job?
So I went to Nottingham Trent University, and we had a year's placement. So it was a 4-year course with a year's placement. Had no idea where I wanted to go. Everyone else got jobs at like Boots and all these big kind of companies near Nottingham, and I just couldn't. No one. I went to all these interviews. No one would have me. And the woman at the kind of office that kind of deals things said, so there's a small agency in London who does like marketing. They're called Team LGM, based off in Marylebone. They'll have you. So that was it. And then a few of us went there. I didn't even think of agencies. I mean, I knew about advertising agencies. This wasn't really an advertising agency, it's a below the line agency. So there, spent a year there, met loads of amazing people who've gone on to like work in very incredible agencies. They're no longer around, like a lot of the early agencies I worked at. But I got bitten by the bug of working in agencies and just the culture, the people, the work. I mean, some of my first clients were like R. Joe Wiggins paper. So it wasn't immediately sexy, but it's just something about the energy. We were doing point of sale for different things, being based in Marylebone. I mean, I think I was living in Harlesden. This was like 2000, yeah, 2000. So I was just being in London. I thought straight after university, I then got a job I think it's selling professional engineering magazines, selling advertising space, but soon quickly went to BD Network, another agency who is around, and just since then, and just worked below the line, working at sales promotion, shopper marketing, moved into digital PR, and now kind of in the last sort of 10, 15 years, however long Facebook's been around, working in social media and influence, and found by inevitably, if you've been doing it for 20 years, you find yourself in a senior role. So I've fought my way into being a sort of head of influence at Fleishman Hillard, who a big agency, PR agency, but just absolutely wonderful. I will sing their praises because I never really wanted to join a big agency, Giles, because I like smaller ones. But actually, Fleishman Hillard, we're kind of a small consumer team. They take care of their employees, which I look for now. Now I'm in my 40s. You look more to benefits than culture, but they've got a good balance. They send me loads of nice things when I'm working at home. They've got like a culture team, and they'll send like hampers and things. Like, it's Easter, here's an Easter hamper. Yeah, I think you only get that at bigger agencies now. But very happy, and I'm there, yeah, head of influence, and it's great. I'm enjoying it. That head of influence also means TikTok and social. It covers a lot of things. I'm probably going to change my job title. I think now I'm having success with TikTok and things. I think I can sell a lot more than just influence within that business. So, but yeah, it's exciting times.
And presumably head of influence, or how else you might better articulate it now. How's that differ to the roles that you had during that? What's that been? 20 years ish.
Yeah, so I think now, I mean, I've kind of managed to get. I was very much client servicing within digital, social, and just agency life. So I'd have different accounts, and might be anything from Bulmers or GSK or McVities, and I'd be kind of a social media lead, and that was great. I did after a while fall a bit out of love with social media because I was a bit fed up with Instagram and sort of writing strategies for brands on social media when you just kind of have to pay to get stuff seen. That's kind of what happened within social, and then TikTok came along and sort of changed everything. And so what I've now done, I've sort of carved out a job for myself where it's the things I'm interested in. So I don't, I work for a PR agency. I don't know a lot about PR, but they were keen to get in people from outside of the industry because it's just the same people. I think it's only a pool of about 20 people. No, so I think and I specialize in is strategy, kind of content strategy, channel strategy. But really, what I'm trying to pivot into is kind of I'm the TikTok expert, but I also the influencer expert as well, just from doing lots of influencer campaigns, and that goes with paid and gifting and all that sort of stuff. So there's a little bit of PR there, but actually it's more about content and social and that sort of thing. And it's what I do, and just the success I'm having now with TikTok and LinkedIn, and that world, being a content creator has just made my job more interesting, I think, because brands are now interested in what I've learned from all the time I've put in. I worked 4 days a week at Fleishman Hillard, so I spend a day a week working, or I did before we had a baby. This comes as a caveat. Working on TikTok. This on Fridays, I'll spend creating content on for TikTok and for my own channel, and so I can use all of that to kind of then I'll feed in all those learnings into you know things that I'm doing for clients. So it's great. It's nice that I've found this nice little niche. And it might change. I'm interested in the metaverse and NFTs, all those things that could either live or die. We don't know yet, but I think what's interesting as you get older, you don't have to be sort of don't have to generalize. I think you can kind of, I'm good at this. So there's certain things in agency life I'm terrible at. I'm not saying I've got bad attention to detail, Giles, because I don't want to like upset anyone who wants to hire me. But there's certain things I'm just not the best at. Project management. I'm not going to sit here and list things I'm bad at. But there are things that I'm brilliant at, which is like strategy and TikTok and just social media and influencer stuff. So I'm like, just let me do that. Like, that's what I should be doing. And I think when you get to my level and my age, people are happy to let me do that as long as I'm bringing in business and keeping the clients happy.
Do you I know I did read actually that you fell out of love with social media and then obviously TikTok kind of rekindled that. Do you think that's more so due to it being TikTok or more so to it just being something new that you could explore and kind of play around with?
I think it's being TikTok because it's an entertainment platform and the algorithm, because it's a discovery platform. So every time I post a TikTok as a content creator or as a brand, it'll be discovered by new people. So whether you have 100 followers or 1 million followers, you're all in the equal level playing field for content going viral. So it just the creativity that's brought out in me, and just once I started to figure out that because I'm account handling, I'm not a creative, so I don't have production skills. So when it came to Instagram, I can do a strategy, but things cost a lot of money. If you want to do a shoot, it's very high production values on Instagram. Whereas TikTok allows you to kind of just a good idea is a good idea. You need to understand storytelling, all these things I love as a comedian and as a just what I consume. So it just sort of it's as a platform and entertainment and all of that. You need a separate strategy for TikTok. You can't just reuse your Instagram strategy. So I just loved that. I was like, oh, I can become an expert of this quite quickly. I can use my comedy chops from doing stand up to just create my own sketches. It hadn't quite it took me about 4 months to figure out that I could do sketches about the workplace and agency life. So, I was messing around with stuff and just understanding, how it worked, what would work, what music to have in the background, what trends to use. And, I just fell in love with it. And I could then take all of that to clients and just talk passionately because even now, like agencies and clients don't get TikTok. You're not, I always think I'm too late to these things, but you're never too late. And actually, it's still early days with TikTok. And so, I've been on it for what, a year and a half now, November, a year and a half. Yeah. It gets even more exciting now. And, it's now I'm having a little bit of success on TikTok with 100,000 followers and now posting stuff on LinkedIn. It was interesting. You pitched LinkedIn against TikTok there. It's, because it wasn't an easy answer. I love TikTok, but actually I love LinkedIn now recently. So it's something we can talk about because it's for business opportunities and networking, LinkedIn is unbeatable. But for me as a content creator, it's still TikTok. I love TikTok and what it's done for me, and just allowing me to be creative on a Friday. It's just I enjoy it so much being able to come up with an idea. It's like stand-up comedy. You come up with an idea, you write it down, you perform it that night. That was taken away during lockdown, so TikTok allowed me to, I could if I had an idea about Elon Musk taking over Twitter yesterday, I could do it this morning, get it up and film it, and within 20 minutes it will be out there, and hopefully people will be laughing at it. And that's what TikTok allows. It allows people without any production skills to be able to use the app to create content.
Yeah, I was going to ask you whether it was a good way of testing material because it would make sense for it to be that.
Yeah, it is, and just I've kind of put stand up on the back burner just through the nature of COVID and having a baby. So it's the last few months I haven't been out and doing stand up. So it just allows me to release my creative. I mean, I say that sounds a bit. I sound like a bit of a wanker, but it is true. It just allows me to kind of keep writing comedy and keep writing. Just keeps my mind working, I guess.
Is it easier without the crowd, or is it less rewarding maybe to not get that like immediate feedback you'd get at a physical stand up?
It's different. Yeah, I mean, nothing beats stand up, but it is also very rewarding the speed that I can turn things around now because I found the secret to my kind of being able to post consistently when I first is really I find it really easy to write a sketch about agency life because I'm living it, but also just the way I don't have to leave my house. I use a green screen on the app. I just find a Google image picture. I can be on the beach. I can be in the meeting room. I can be in the kitchen. I don't have to leave the spare room here, and like it just makes it really easy. That which means I can make 10 sketches on a Friday And I think part of the success of because it's not a hassle. I don't get tired. I won't give up after. A lot of people just give up after 3 months because they're not getting the success they want. But I've never really looked at the numbers. I've never really, uh, I just enjoy making what I'd want to see.
Yeah. I suppose as well, because I mean, as I said earlier, Sophie and I go to a lot of stand-up gigs, and you get the those, I can't remember what they're called now, those like test type stand-up sessions where they take comedians take material that they're working on.
Yeah, work in progress shows. Yeah, work in progress.
And we saw Russell Kane couple of years ago, and actually the late great Sean Lott, we went to see him as well do one of these shows, and his was probably a bit more, maybe he'd progressed it a bit more because it felt a little bit more joined up. But I know with Russell's show, he was literally, pen and paper in hand as he was going, and making comments as the jokes kind of landed or didn't. But I suppose with TikTok, you don't need to worry about things being joined up because you can just do so many little short, sharp, like test bits of material.
And when I do stand up, I tend to just do stand up. I don't really talk about work. So actually, I'm trying. The thing is, if you were to come and see me now, I probably would just do stand up, as just relatable stand up jokes and stuff. But I'm trying to figure out how all this great material. Well, I am working on it. How can I make a show out of all this great material I've done, and this captive audience I've got, and also I'm working on at the minute doing sort of how can I do live spoof sketches and like spoof company meetings and spoof pitches and that sort of stuff. So it's changed a little bit how I approach stand up, rather than just talking about weddings and being a dad and all this kind of stuff that I tend to do within my stand up. Is actually, I've got this captive audience now of people that like my agency comedy. So how do I, you know, write specific stuff now about agency life? I can be a little bit more niche with it because I know that, agencies have been asking me to come and perform at their summer parties, which I'd love to do. So I need to get writing, Giles, essentially. I need to spend a bit of time just figuring out what this could be. And then I can take it on the road to different agencies and summer parties and award shows, hopefully.
Yeah, that'd be ace. We did deliberately put LinkedIn versus TikTok on your quickfire because we read that you're growing faster on LinkedIn.
I am, yeah. I mean, yes, yeah, I am. What happens if you go viral, or you get like every sort of maybe once or twice a month, I'll get a post on TikTok that will get like 1 million views, and naturally you just skyrocket, like 10-20,000 followers and just overnight. So but I'd say at the minute I'm growing more consistently in the last month. Before Christmas I had 200 followers on LinkedIn. I didn't even know followers was a thing, and then I've got like 38,000 now on LinkedIn. So that's in the last sort of 6 weeks, I'd say. So I'm growing very quickly on LinkedIn. I'm just reposting my TikToks essentially, but it's really interesting. So yeah, and the good thing about LinkedIn is that you can just stalk everyone who views your content, and I can see that what brand managers are looking at me, and people are very kind and message me all the time, so I can go, oh, you're interested, we like a meeting. So it's a whole new thing for me, LinkedIn. And what's really nice is if things don't do well on TikTok, or don't quite get the response, I don't stress, because actually I know I'll post it on LinkedIn, and actually I start to create content thinking about the LinkedIn audience as well. It's just giving me more confidence about, I can write, what's it like for an agency to pitch the metaverse. I probably wouldn't have done that before because I thought that, I, d- I don't think I would have had the confidence that that would do well on TikTok, but I was wrong. It has done very well. And actually, the more niche I get on TikTok, people still respond to it. So it just goes to show that those people are following me on TikTok. So it's good.
I was going to ask that actually, because I would have thought that the material that was more targeted at our industry, because a lot of us, I suppose more so than lots of industries, we're kind of obsessed with LinkedIn and all at least sort of live there at least part-time, versus TikTok, where, as you mentioned earlier, it doesn't have that same algorithm that drives a lot of other social media channels that just create echo chambers. It is so like almost anti-algorithm. It's just so broad and to such a bigger potential audience.
But I think the algorithms learn the type of people that like my content. It's very clever. That's why it takes months to kind of really get that, like I've still put hashtags, but I'm not sure I need to because I think it knows that I do agency workplace sketches. They're funny sometimes and relatable. But actually at the same time, I love at the weekends, I'll throw out, things that aren't workplace agency specific. So I'll do, I like to pivot and do things like what's it like being in the queue for Everest. If you're climbing Everest, because there's you queue up to climb Everest these days. So I like to sometimes create other things outside of my niche. And yeah, the output, TikTok's great for that. So yeah, it does find the right people. TikTok, it's very good at getting you an audience. Whatever your content's about, could be about rugs, it could be about being in a startup, whatever it is, it will find your people. You just got to stick with it, basically.
I wonder though if it also demonstrates that there's more opportunity for people to actually have a bit more personality on LinkedIn. I certainly think that's true in advertising in general. We've kind of there was like this weird decade where we moved away from humour in ads more so than say the 80s. I remember growing up just actually enjoying ads like the Barclaycards ads with Rowan Atkinson and things like that.
Oh, they're amazing, weren't they?
They're so funny, and it just was always we shied away about actually having fun.
I think so. And all the ads are like they're sort of poetic and moody and kind of inspirational. There's less funny, I think now. It seems to be a bit less funny. But I think LinkedIn, I was using it for jobs for years. You'd kind of whenever you need a job, you'd go on there and I wasn't really posting. And then, I started posting my sketches and I think people just liked the fact that they're very hyper, well, not use the word hyper, unnecessary then, but they're very like relatable. They're still workplace, they're still agency specific. So there's something, just people can relate to them. I don't think people had necessarily seen that often. People often talk to me about there's a book out called E that came out in the early 2000s about it was a series of emails. I can't even remember what it was about, but I think it was based in an agency. It was a series of emails, and everyone got very excited about that. And people often refer to my content a bit like that, which I think is a big compliment. But it's got an audience, and I'll post on LinkedIn 4 or 5 times a day, which people, I think that goes against the general rules of LinkedIn. But it's great. I've been getting like hundreds of thousands of views of my uh, TikToks, my sketches, and it's great. It's nice, and I've met lots of amazing people. I've had lots of brands and agencies, and I think I'm talking to Fleishman Hillard now about just like what can we do to capitalize on this wonderful world we've got of this B2B audience I've curated. But they've been really supportive with me, and they just do what you need to do. They don't want to start taking over my feed or sticking the Fleishman Hillard logo on anything. It's not about that, but it's like I've got brands that want to work with me, and it's about what's the question is though, Giles. Like me as a content creator is one thing, and then there's this kind of other strategy TikTok expert side of things which exists, which I can then bring into Fleishman Hillard. So I keep them separate. If a brand wants to be on my TikTok, then they can talk to me direct. Whereas if it's they want some help with their TikTok, I'll probably do it through Fleishman. So.
Time, weather, and...
We interrupt this podcast to announce that we will never interrupt this podcast with ads. Ads that awkwardly nudge you to contact the pod's host Giles Edwards at giles@gasp.agency. Only the other day, some pod listening companies did just that, calling for guidance on research and brand identity. But we're definitely not asking you to do that. Anyway, back to the show.
Driving a forklift truck at the Ribena factory in Culford, Gloucestershire.
Call to action, episode 11, with the one and only Rory Sutherland. Not what we were looking for, but hang on a minute.
I think you mentioned there about posting
there we
4 or
go.
5 times a day, which might go against the kind of LinkedIn, whatever, best practice or whatever that term is. But I think actually that's an important point, because I think everything just becomes so formulaic so quickly, like as if there is a best practice or right way of doing things. So the fact that you're doing something that is probably uncommon, at least, leads to it, I don't know, maybe seeming distinct and different.
Yeah, and I just think I just think about just I attack it a bit like I do with when I do strategies for brands and things. It's like, with LinkedIn, if you don't want to see something, you just scroll past it. So if you don't want to watch my sketches, don't watch them. But like with LinkedIn, you can kind of, it's not too disruptive. You'd have to click on it and watch it. So I just think I'll just keep posting. And also, quite frankly, I've got like 1,500 sketches I've done now on TikTok. So I've got a bunch I want to share with people, so I'm bombarding LinkedIn with these sketches. So
1,500. That's insane.
I know it's a lot, isn't it? I was posting on TikTok. I was posting 8 a day, so I was freelancing, and at the start I was doing 8 a day. I mean, I had a very supportive wife throughout all of this. So I've been very. She's like, just go and do what you need to do, and it's when you're not working, when you're freelancing, it's either. I mean, well, you got to fill your time up with something, haven't you? And I thought like TikTok was a good way of making these sketches was one thing. It was either that or gaming.
You chose well. I really like, Rob, when I read that you called the videos a love letter to the industry, because I think quite easily you could have, I don't know, someone could have assumed that it was quite the opposite. But the fact that it is making fun of something in celebration of rather than criticising.
Yeah, and it's just holding a mirror up. Like, there's nothing, when I talk about sort of when you go into another agency's reception and you see they've got like old magazines of when their campaign from 5 years ago, they've got award, yeah, they've got awards on their like in the cabinet. Like, it's all true. And so the truth is funny. Because like, I haven't even written jokes for that. Like when I do, that's the thing I love about this industry. I just sometimes just need to just to highlight some of the things we do because it's just so funny and ridiculous, isn't it? And also it's interesting to know that we all do these things, and good or bad, we all do these things, and it's it just brings it makes things very relatable, and even for I've had a lot of people who are just getting into the industry now who like to look at my sketches and to get a bit of an insight into the world of it, and I'm like, yeah, of course, yeah, it's very. I like some of the things I'll highlight are the ridiculousness and the bad thing, not bad things, but the annoying things that annoy me in the industry as well. Like, I don't know, the meeting rooms or the pitch process or things that are, I'll talk a lot more about them than just the great things, because it's more funny. Yeah, I mean, it's just this. It is a love letter to the industry. I love working in the industry. Like I said, I've worked in below the line, above the line, shopper. I've worked in all the different disciplines, digital, social. I've worked client side at Lacoste and Pentland Brands and Tom Dixon. I've been made redundant. I've not passed my probation. I haven't had like one of those careers that's just been, I wasn't made account director at the age of 24. I've had to so I've got all these very, and I'm also at that level now where I can talk about this without fear of it, you know, it coming back to haunt me, hopefully. So it's, I've got the honor and the confidence now that I can highlight all of these ridiculous things that have happened to me, and I know what it's like to walk into a meeting room and HR sat there because you haven't passed your probation. Not for anything sinister, just like, you're just not the right fix. So I can do sketches about that. And, I've been skint, I've had to sort of, my only social life was, going to the work parties, and, so I know what that's like. I've been shouted at before pitches. I've had toxic bosses, I've had great bosses, but I'd say all the agencies I've worked at I've loved. There's nothing, there's no Jenny really. There's no Jen. So Jenny's the kind of the boss who I have a love-hate relationship with, who's just a bit. She's not toxic, but she's just, she works really hard. She kind of wants to suck the fun out of working in an agency, and so I've never worked with a Jenny, so that's why I've chosen that name.
What about Gavin and Tara?
Gavin, I've worked with a few Gavins, but Gavin's a mixture of people. But Tara is based on a friend of mine called Tara, who's an art director, and I just like using her names, to be honest. Because Tara, it just feels like you've got that kind of trendy art director. And Tara is that. She's currently working in Amsterdam. She's one of those art directors, and she's just cool, and she has a bit of OCD, and she's just a great art director. But she's one of those people that will work late on a pitch and just doing a great job. So she's a great character to bring into this.
Yeah, it's a good place to be for an art director, Amsterdam, especially if you're tall.
It is.
They're all tall
Yeah.
over there.
Exactly. She is tall, actually.
So you think there's? I mean, there's sounds like you've got 1,500 videos already. There's probably room for thousands more.
Yeah, I'll never run out, Giles. I don't think I'll ever run out of ideas. Just just thinking of any type of like the pitch process. There's so many stages to it, and also just having different takes. I could take like I've been doing this thing at the minute where I take the honest handover or the honest leaving speech or the honest. So I can do different versions of that. I can, I'll just lie in bed and I'll think about all these agencies I've worked at. I'll just think like of what's it like to go into work on a Sunday. If you're going into the office on a Sunday, number one, you want everyone to know you're there because what's the point in being there if you're not going to get credit? So you send an email. Number one, I even though I come across as very confident, I'm actually quite shy. I'm not shy, but I get embarrassed quite easily. I get quite anxious about things. So things like I'd get super stressed about getting into the office and unlocking the door and the alarm going off. So all of those things, if at work, if there's a communal kitchen and I don't know everyone in the agency, or it's shared like a WeWork, a shared communal kitchen, that stresses me out because I feel like someone will just go, "Why are you doing that with the kettle?" Or like that's not the tea bags are not available to everyone. But that to me that's the sort of content I like to make because that's who I am, and I just make stuff that's relevant to me and things I've experienced.
And do you has this, I suppose, success you've had with these videos, has that made you more confident at all when it comes to those situations?
I think so, yeah, because I think now, yeah, absolutely. It's highlight. Just I now know that when you go around the table in a meeting and you have to introduce yourself and do a fun fact, everyone finds that horrible. I thought it was just me that found that because everyone always has really smart answers, and I just panic and just get my name wrong. I have to write down like my name on a piece of paper and my job title and where I work because I just feel like I'm just going to talk about an agency I worked at 5 years ago or something. So, but when I posted that one, everyone relates to that, and yeah, it does give you confidence, and I think it's just that shared, this shared ridiculousness of some of the things we do in either the day to day things that we all kind of accept as behaviours in an agency, are ridiculous.
They are. It's part of the reason why we always introduce our guests on this podcast, because it is just fucking ridiculous when you're asked to introduce yourself.
Oh, it's just like, yeah, exactly that, and it's yeah, it's always fun when you have to write a bio. When you get asked to send a bio and a picture, I mean, that would take me half a day just thinking about that. I should save my bio because I get asked all the time and I lose it and I have to keep rewriting it. But and I always start with 20 years experience because that's like the one thing I think is quite unique. But is it anymore? I don't know.
Well, everyone trips up on that intro. But my so Sophie, who I founded Gasp with, my wife, she's like incredibly talented, and she was on a call the other day, and I think there were 2 or maybe 3 people called Lisa and her, and she introduced herself as Lisa. It was like, no, you're the only one on this call who isn't Lisa.
Brilliant. Well, that's just it, isn't it? It's those slip ups that I just find just amazing. But you're right. Yeah, it's the bios, all of that stuff is just it's so rich for. There's so much I haven't spoken about as well. There's like, business travel. There's going, the festival, like summer stuff. I tend to do it. I do Christmas party sketches around Christmas time. So now we're coming up to summer. We've got summer parties. We've got away days. We've got conferences. All of that stuff is just rich for mining. Award season as well, so much we can do.
I've got a couple of listener questions for you, Rob.
Oh, good.
So asking the general public for their opinion, be it on Brexit or boat names, is notoriously fraught with danger. But we've got 2, starting, funny enough, with Lisa, who asks, where do you get your jumpers from?
Do you know what? There's a story to this. And so when I started making content, there's a brand called Rowing Blazer based in New York, and I've been obsessed with them. It's like the only thing I spend money on. Like as you get a bit older, I stopped kind of going out and partying, and so I managed to save a little bit of money, and I'd spend them on these jumpers by a brand called Rowing Blazer, and they're quite expensive. I won't tell you how much, but they're not cheap, but they're well made. So all of my I just thought I'm going to wear them in all my sketches, and just because I love them, number one. and they're very me. I've always dressed a bit like this, and so but I was consistent. But at the back of my mind, I thought, I wonder if one day they'll email me and say, let's send you free jumpers. And so after about 6 months, I got 2 in the morning. I got an email from Rowing Blazer, and then when I went to New York last year, I got to meet the founder Jack, who took me for lunch. And I'm an honorary. I'm a part of their family now. They never paid me for any of my content, but they'll send me jumpers. I'm getting a delivery today, Giles, actually. He saw some of my sketches recently. He said, "Oh, your neck's gone in your chest jumper," because I'm putting these jumpers off, taking them on, and for different sketches. So he sent resending me that jumper, and I'm getting some new jumpers. So that is where I get my jumpers from. They're called Rowing Blazer. They're fantastic. It's worth saving up to get a jumper, or because they're in their hundreds, but they're wonderful. So yeah, you're right, and it's just become part of my sketches now. I think my jumpers are probably, for some of the sketches, the best bit, but it's good. And being head of influence is wonderful, that I'm now get a little bit of influence when it comes to, I'm tagging people all the time when they ask who does my jumpers. I'll tag Rowing Blazer, so I think they're earning their money back, hopefully.
Yeah, all those the bastards at Salad Cream aren't.
Yeah, exactly. This is a good example of what I call being a true fan. So as a brand, you don't need to pay people. If you can find these content creators who love your brand, like I do, Rowing Blazer and Salad Cream, but yet they've yet to reach out. Just talk to them, reach out to them, and work with them, because I will make content for Salad Cream for free. Like, they haven't asked me. And Rowing Blazer, again, I don't need, I'll just continue to wear them all the time.
We'll definitely include a link to Rowing Blazer's site on this episode.
Thank you. I should probably get an affiliate link at some point, just because yeah, but I don't. I'm just happy to get free jumpers, quite honestly.
And the second question is from Sophie, and I feel like you've kind of touched on this already, but I'll ask it. How much of TikTok Rob is real life Rob?
Almost all of it. What's really nice, and do you know what one of the really nice things is? I've always been told, like, I've always been quite a fun person to have to work with. I know it sounds quite egotistical to say that, but it is one of the things. And I'd often get, Rob, you need to be more professional in my review. Like, I'm good at my job, but just bit more professional sometimes. And that's been a consistent throughout my career. I'm more professional now. I will say I'm more professional now, but at the same time, it's nice to be able that my personality now I can bring into these sketches, and actually, yeah, this is me essentially, because I'm not a good actor. This is me being me, and so that's why it's easy to write these things, because these are my thoughts. These are my thoughts and observations and anxieties, and that's kind of what they are, which is why it makes them so easy to do. So yeah, that's why I did before I did workplace sketches. If you scroll 2 years, a year and a half back on my TikTok, they're all still up there. You'll see the evolution of different characters, different, I wasn't doing workplace sketches. I was doing stand-up comedy as I walked around the streets of London. I was doing these different, I wanted to do some sort of East London kind of, not gangster, but it's that kind of like East London character who, is a bit of a chancer. I did a character about that. None of those things landed. But if you go all the way back, it shows the evolution of like my personality, and you'll see that I'm very much at home doing what I'm doing now, but yeah, I think you pretty much get this, Rob, when you work with me, good and bad. But it also means when I go into calls now, people know my sketches. They don't ask me to be more professional. They almost want I think they want the Rob from the sketches, I think. So that's nice. I feel like I won't get asked to be more professional these days. Let's wait for my next review. But
I've got a similar story again. Someone I used to work with, Becky, who was actually Sophie's assistant at a past agency. When she first joined, Sophie had a client who was this big South African guy. They don't make small ones over there, but he had this huge appetite, and they used to always go for breakfast before meetings. And this guy would just put it all away. But Becky was also quite a big eater, so they almost like had this sort of eat off. And anyway, when they went back to the meeting room and they were sat in the boardroom having their meeting, Soph kind of looked at Becky because she kept kind of ducking her head below the table. And it turns out she had some leftover chicken leg drumsticks from the night before in her handbag.
Oh my God,
that
there
she
you
was just
go.
kind of tucking into. But Soph instinctively was like, no, you can't do that. You just can't keep doing that. But the client loved everybody loved Becky. I love Becky. She's amazing. And everyone wanted her involved because she was so funny. She got her finger stuck in a mug once during a meeting and was like waving it around like desperately.
I think you need those people. Like there's always, you need people that bring the character, especially, in the, there's a lot of hybrid working now, and I miss the agents, being with everyone in the office. I love that. And, the people with personalities also, because if you're just online, your personality, people don't get to see your personality as much. So I think that's a shame. I don't think I would have done as well. My personality served me quite well, I think, because I think a lot of agencies I've worked at quite liked having me around. Just I like be the office DJ, or I keep people's spirits up a bit as well. But I enjoy managing people. But I think you're right. You need to have different types of people. It's great to have the people that want to take the meeting notes, all that sort of stuff. But you need a Becky. You need someone who's fun. And clients are human, and this is something that I've learned. They like personalities. As long as you make them look good, which is the kind of job of the agency. It's like they like you. Of course, the formality and all of that's important, but it's nice when you can break down that wall and actually get to the human side to the client, because you can have a great relationship. You can go for breakfasts and brunches and talk rubbish. And
they let you relax, don't they? Having a Becky, it lets you relax because you're all just going to relax around someone like that.
Exactly that. It set the standard. And I think it's nice, especially that's what I'd see as culture. And then that goes for good and bad. I love it when I work. Fleishman Hillard's good for this. Is that you know a lot of people have families and they finish at 6, so it's like 5:30, 6. So it's like there's not a culture of you need to be seen to be working till 7 or 8. I've been at agencies like that, and hopefully that is the side of agency I think is changing. I hope so, because I just think that you don't need to be like that. I think those days have gone of just putting that. Hopefully the power is now with the employees rather than the employers.
Well, the last episode that we released on Call to Action was with Amy Ferguson, who's Chief Creative Officer of TBWA Try It Day in New York. And very much her mantra is, turn up, work hard, but go home. And we spoke at length about this and this kind of, I suppose, historic agency culture of like outdoing each other and doing longer hours and just rarely getting home. And I definitely have seen it change from our kind of side of things. And I think it is changing globally as well.
Yeah, I hope so. And I think, I also like the idea of, that it feels like there's a real talent. Probably there's a middle level and junior. There's probably there's not many. There's a lot of roles going at the minute. So there's a lot of power to the employees, and the hybrid working, offering that flexibility, like me being able to work 4 days a week. And I think it's important. I hope we've learned from lockdown that you need that life balance. You need to, like I say, now I've got a kid, a young girl. It's like I just, that my focus has shifted a bit, and I look for things like, now I'm in my 40s. I'm interested in the benefits. I'm less What's less important to me is having a bar on a Thursday. That used to be everything to me. I've worked at some great agencies where we'd go out and we'd party, and I'd spend it should be so much fun. But now it's less I'm more interested in getting a chocolate hamper sent to my house, and the pension scheme. Unfortunately, that's what's interesting to me. But it's nice you can have all of those things. We still do Friday bar and all of that stuff, and it's still good to do that. But priorities change, Giles, as you know.
They do, and that's not a bad thing. So yeah, congrats again for becoming a dad.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm not going to pivot to doing dad TikTok sketches. I might do. We'll never rule it out.
You're not going to be on baby TV soon.
No, one of our clients is Water Wipes that I work with, which I'd never even heard of before we had a baby, and it's they've been very kind. They've given me some product, and it's like it's amazing what the world that opens up when you have a child, of just like the brands you now are familiar with that you just are not on your radar before. It's a whole world of but maybe I will end up doing some dad content or dad stand up eventually, but I'm trying to avoid it right now.
There's time. The final part, Rob, of the interview is our 4 pertinent posers that we put to all of our guests, starting with, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I'd say just keep going, just don't lose your personality and your enthusiasm. I think what I see now, even with young people, as a more senior role I'm in, people, the bar is low in terms of being impressed. So when I see people that are enthusiastic, it's such a valuable thing to have in an agency, is that enthusiasm. You don't need to be the smartest one in the room, but if you're enthusiastic and you want to learn and write everything down, that's the advice I give people, and I still give that to myself. So I'd say, I'd love to have I didn't start stand up till I was like 34, 35. So I'd love to have started that earlier. I think just stick with it, and don't be scared to fail, and go to different agencies, figure out what you like. Like I said, sometimes I'm in the mood for working at big agencies, small agencies. Don't be afraid to be a freelancer. Maybe go and work in different countries. I never really did that, but me and my wife might move to New York one day because she's from New York. So who knows who knows what the future is as well.
Good advice. If you could banish one thing from the industry, what would it be and why? Albeit it might rob you of material.
I think weekend working and late night working, I'd banish that. I think that just a lot of the time it comes down to bad communication and someone not saying no to a client, or just not educating the client that things take time, and there's something's gone wrong. Sometimes you just need to, because of last minute requests, but something's gone wrong if everyone's working past 7 every night. There's something wrong there. Either you're not employing enough people, or but that's part of it. And that's then for some. I don't like it when people say that's just the nature of agency. I think that we can change that. I'd banish that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't think that's come up actually before, weirdly. But yeah, no, that's definitely a good one. So number 3, are there any books that you would recommend to our listeners? They don't have to be work related, by the way.
What books have I? Do you know what? One of the first books I ever read was Eating the Big Fish, which was about the guy who started St. Luke's from TBWA, and that got me really excited about the industry. I'm not sure if that's aged well. I haven't read it since I was 20, but that was something that I suddenly realized how fun advertising and marketing could be. So that was one. I think the guy Andy Law's got an agency now called Eating the Big Fish. There's a book for comedy. I love reading biographies. So I like reading. Steve Coogan's got a good one just about his comedy writing. Judd Apatow has got one called Sick in the Head, which is just about interviews with like writers. I'm reading about Mel Brooks at the minute. I love Mel Brooks. So I love reading about great writers like David Sedaris, Mel Brooks, those sorts of people I really look up to. And that's where I get my, inspiration from. I think, industry wise, there's a few people who I like. This is a sort of, I'm pivoting the question a bit now. I've never met her, but I'm probably not going to say her surname, Zoe Skaman, but she writes a lot about the metaverse, and she's one of those people. Every time she posts something, I'll send it to the work WhatsApp group. And sometimes I even probably pass it off as my own because I'll copy and paste it. But I just find her fascinating she's so smart and so interesting, and such a good, I think, role model for people in the industry, because she doesn't suffer fools. It's the same with Cindy Gallup, is it? And Vicky Ross as a copywriter. I just love people like that who just I get a lot of inspiration about the industry from those people. So I read a lot. I follow them on Twitter and LinkedIn, and I just find them inspiring. So yeah, those people as well.
Awesome. Well, Zoe and Vicky have both been on the pod.
There you go. Do you know what I haven't? I will dig out, because I just find them fascinating. Everything they say, I'm like, yep, I agree with you. But I learn a lot about the thing about the industry is, you find if you kind of collect these experts, you can be so much smarter and better informed in meetings. And Zoe especially, I like just listen to what she sends. Every link she posts I'll read, even if I don't understand it, because it just makes me better informed when it comes to the metaverse and she'll post stuff. I'm like, I don't, because with NFTs and stuff, I'm skeptical. I think she's skeptical as well, but she posts some great examples, and it's just I find those people fascinating in the industry.
She donated. We set up a mental health initiative at the start of lockdown called Isolated Talks, and both Zoe and Vicky donated wonderful talks, which were both hugely popular. Vicky's was called Right, and Zoe I recall did one on sci-fi, the future of sci-fi and strategy, or sci-fi and strategy related. But I'll send you a link to both. But the sci-fi one was actually really, really interesting, certainly from a strategy perspective, because it's kind of centered around exploring like the question, what if?
She's just so smart, isn't she?
I was going to say, we had the late great friend of mine, Murray Calder, who sadly is no longer with us, but he spoke when he came on the podcast a few years ago now about sci-fi and how he sees parallels with strategy work, because it is all about exploring what if, like what if humans couldn't live on this planet, then this, and then what if they couldn't do X, Y, and Z, then this. And it was that kind of, I suppose, flexing that what if question that both him and Zoe talk about when they talk about sci-fi and how it can be beneficial to think that way.
It's just amazing. I just can't get enough of it. And then, do you know what's been really good? Just because I've made this, because I do my sketches and just through LinkedIn as well, just being able to talk to some of the, only messaging, but to talk to some of these people who I like and admire, and gives you the confidence, because my profile is bigger than it was last year. So I feel like I can reach out to these people and it's great. It's been really nice that I get to, if I know that if I want to talk to Zoe, I'm sure she'd take my call now, just because, well, I say that, I don't know, but like I just find people like that fascinating. And I talk to Vicky Ross quite a lot on Twitter, and just share things that I think she might be interested in, so it's great.
And then, so number 4 is we always dedicate every episode to someone, and we bestow or hospital pass that honour, depending on your view, to our guest, who has to give the reason why. So would you kindly dedicate this episode?
100% need to dedicate this one to my wife, Sally. And I'll tell you why. Because you just imagine you marry a man who then wants to go down to 4 days a week because he wants to create TikTok content. So you're taking a dip in wage just off the hunch that you want to create this content, and you don't get anything back for a year. I'm not getting deals thrown at me at the beginning. So just that support. She thinks that she still laughs at all my jokes, and it's that is such a nice. It's nice she's given me the confidence to go off and create these TikToks, and that that takes a lot. Like they say, behind every man is a good woman. Like she's my partner. She comes up with some great ideas as well. I don't give her enough credit. She comes up with great ideas as well. And she's cool. She's a web developer. She works. She's really cool in an industry where it's very men's centric. She's a fantastic force of nature. So she's brilliant, and I dedicate that to her. This to her, because she's been brilliant, and she continues to. I'm hopefully getting to go to Cannes this year with TikTok, and I'm taking her with me as a as a treat. So I can work and she can sit in the sun with our new baby.
Amazing. Well, that's this episode is very, very happy to be dedicated to Sally. That's wonderful. Thank you, Rob.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Giles.
Everyone listening, as a final call to action, they can head over and find links on this episode to everything we've discussed, including rowing blazer links. We'll try and lob a salad cream link in there, some Jessica Curson footage. How else can our listeners get more Rob Mayhew?
Yeah, so follow me on TikTok. I think I'm trying to think what my TikTok name is. I think it's something like Mr. Robert Mayhew. Hang on a minute, let me check. It was something that I didn't think enough about at the time. For some reason, I went as a Robert, because I think I just wanted to be maybe. God knows what I was thinking. Yeah, Mr. Robert Mayhew on TikTok. LinkedIn is Rob Mayhew. I've got a couple of LinkedIn profiles. So one of them I just lost my login. So make sure you don't follow the Rob Mayhew that's still an account manager. Follow the one that's head of influence at Fleishman Hillard, because that's me. And yeah, I'm not particularly active on Twitter. So just follow me. And then and on Instagram as well, Rob Mayhew Comedy. But to be honest, follow me on TikTok and LinkedIn. They're the two.
Awesome. Well, links to those two will also be included there, and leave account manager Rob alone. Rob, thank you so much for joining us. Honestly, I've enjoyed this hugely. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, Giles. It's been fun, and I love the podcast. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. Finally, thank you everyone listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do share and review the pod. Keep questions and guest requests coming in. To get in touch, it's easy to find Gasp online. You can check out CTA Pod on Instagram or just email hello@calltoaction.co.
I can't get no call to action. I can't get no call to action, but I try, and I try, and I try, and I try.